The impact that's had by the gentlest action is much more deeply felt, and for much more of a long period of time, and in a much more controlled state, as opposed to the impact that's had from a frenetic, stressful, chaotic action. And this is even true when we're trying to help people. So my favorite example of this is if I'm in a room full of children that are crazy and running around, I want to bring them into control. I want to be able to teach them. This is a situation I find myself in at least 3 times a week. And the 2 options that I've been able to find are to become as loud or louder as the children, so that they pay attention to me, or to be as quiet as I possibly can, to whisper. That is so much more effective than quiet. Quiet, I can yell at them and I can get 4 of them at a time, and then these 3 are running around, so I yell at these 3, and then I turn back and these 4 are running around again, and I can sort of popcorn through the room for a half hour and get some kids to pay attention to me because I'm loud and trying to grab the room. But to get them all requires a moment of silence usually. These kids focus a whole lot more with a quiet response. So if I stand there and whisper, it takes a little bit longer to get attention, but when I get it, I get everyone. And it's the gentlest, that's an example of the gentlest possible action, making the biggest possible impact, right? And I think that you'll find that if you bring gentleness into situations where it doesn't typically belong in social norms, the response is dramatic. So someone rear ends you in traffic, and you get out to get their information. They are expecting an angry person, or at least a stressed out person, or some sort of negative interaction. If you walk up to that car calmly, and maybe even with a little bit of laughter, and very gently speak to that person, 2 things will happen. 1, you'll have a much better interaction with them, right? That's obvious. We're going to have a better interaction with someone we're kind to. The second thing is they're going to be incredibly taken aback and by your joviality, by just the fact that this is okay. They're expecting one thing and they're getting something completely opposite. And what you'll see that trigger in people is really dramatic. The change from I was expecting a fight to I'm getting something gentle. People rise to that occasion. You'll get that gentle back most of the time. You can't speak for everyone. Especially if you're willing to sort of wait through whatever defenses might be there. So you walk up to the car, in this analogy, happily, relaxed, friendly, understanding about the fact that you've probably made a mistake with your car at some point in your life too. And they're immediately defensive, but you're very calm. I didn't mean to, something about the ice, whatever it is, your car, your fault, something, right? It's all coming out, the fight's beginning. And you're just standing there smiling, and you wait through it. I've had 2 reactions to that. One is they rise to the occasion, and they're this is what I'm hoping for. Their generosity, their kindness, their calmness comes out too, and we're able to interact on a higher level. But the second response I've had is just pure fear. Like, how is this person so calm? and I'm not looking for the upper hand in that context, but you sort of automatically get it. Is speaking a little bit more quietly as someone else raises their voice? Dramatic response. So these are all very obvious examples that I'm using for the sake of class, but this gentleness can occur in very, very simple ways. This is, again, the way that I pick up this bowl matters to me, and to the seeds that I'm planting in my mind. And as that grace and gentleness can enter the most basic facets of life, it's almost as if the most amazing challenges occur. How much of my life can I be completely present with in a gentle and loving way? And that maybe not a lot of it at first. That's okay. There's no value to, well, it has to be 20%, or 50%, or 100%, or of the time that you're acting this way. But the more you can, the more that becomes, can I calm down here? Can I deal with this in a slightly joyful way? Can I laugh at myself? If there's nothing else left, if there's nothing else left, can I just laugh at the absurdity of a frustrating situation, right? Very, very specifically putting this down, especially now that I've brought that up a few times. But all of that aspect can be found simply in the way we breathe. So it begins usually with, like, we're re-oxygenating. Don't fight that, but as the sit continues, as you deepen a little bit further, and everything becomes more and more gentle, more and more easy, see how slow the breath can be. See how shallow the breath can be, see how full the breath can be, but as gently and slowly as possible. And then that one quality, as we get to know it, which is the beautiful thing about meditation practice, as we get to know these specific qualities, we can bring them in much more complex ways into our daily lives. But just the feeling of that gentleness, now you feel that when you interact with someone else, and it can come into a much more complex situation, but learned through the breath.